Many platforms still treat AI as an add-on rather than actual infrastructure. How does MEXC define the role of AI within its core risk systems or management?
And we proudly serve 40 million users, right? It is millions of transactions and every day. Therefore, we use AI in three distinct ways that kind of supports our business. It helps us a lot with the operations. It is looking into our order books, making sure that liquidity is there. And lastly, we provide a powerful AI suite to our users, to these 40 million users who can kind of use AI in decision-making process for their trades.
Crypto is often fragmented, it can be manipulated, it could be even incomplete. Which risks you think remain underestimated?
In my opinion, one of the biggest risks,
Hi, I'm Dr. Lorena Nessi from CCN. Today, I'm joined by Vugar Usi, Chief Operating Officer at MEXC. We will discuss the real-world impact of AI on crypto markets, what AI-driven risk management means for exchanges, and how liquidity, market structure, ethics, and system resilience shape the future of crypto trading. Thank you so much, Usi, for being with us today at CCN. Welcome.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me here.
Thanks. So we're going to go straight into AI infrastructure. Many platforms still treat AI as an add-on rather than actual infrastructure. So how does MEXC define the role of AI within its core risk systems or management? What actually does current industry practice, you think, still falls short?
When it comes to AI sits as a core of our business because makes it today as an exchange, and I want to say not a crypto exchange, but generally we are like a trade everything platform where you can trade tokenized stocks, real world assets, commodities, and of course more than 3,000 projects within the crypto ecosystem. And we proudly serve 40 million users, right? When you put this 40 million users, it is millions of transactions and every day. Therefore, we use AI in three distinct ways that kind of supports our business. First and foremost, as I'm the Chief Operating Officer, it helps us a lot with the operations, whether it is going through the user vetting process, pre-trade, making sure that it is included to all our risk management, AML processes, KYC processes. This way, it cuts a lot of time, but it also helps us to serve the customers better. Second, a key feature when it comes to AI, it is looking into our order books, making sure that liquidity is there, helping to pull liquidity or push liquidity to our partner platforms and making this kind of a very sophisticated decisions that is helping us to be more efficient in a split second. And lastly, we provide a powerful AI suite to our users, to these 40 million users who can kind of use AI in decision-making process for their trades. Definitely today we also have some AI bots available that our users can take advantage to make certain trades. But I think we need to discuss more about where the AI's role comes in decision making and how much we can rely on AI to make these important decisions like, this financial decision making that we do. Or I'm sure everyone also saw in the news that even US government is using AI to do military decision making and many other precision decision making that is powered by AI. Therefore, I think there's also huge benefits for users who use AI for making financial decisions.
Absolutely. And we know AI depends entirely on data, right? On a specific data pipeline. However, crypto is often fragmented, it can be manipulated, it could be even incomplete, right? So how does MEXC address, for a start, this data quality, possibly some bias or manipulation when feeding AI-driven trading or risk models?
I think when it comes to AI and risk, first and foremost, it's about ethics, right? We have seen this very powerful Chinese video making platform, but recently, like after a week, I think almost all large producers from Hollywood, from US, they did a cease and desist letter to that organization because they trained their AI on these best produced films and outcomes. when it comes to AI, we train is mainly powerful because it is lines and lines of data, especially like organizations like ourselves or any other big player in a market that can produce because of this proprietary data. And it is very important when we use this proprietary data, we kind of make sure that no user data is fed to the AI, or it is well masked and well kind of covered. And it is very, very, very important. But also, let's not forget that there was a huge case with Anthropic where they claimed that several other AI organizations created hundreds of fake accounts or impersonating accounts to kind of train their data on that AI. And I believe this game is kind of going in a very different direction today, because we definitely all need a huge data sets to feed to AI to make the better decisions. But also, we have seen so many players in a market that they're trying to kind of take advantage of the situation. And that is one thing we definitely condemn. When it comes to MEXC or my career itself, the one of the biggest ways I encounter AI, and that's actually like a fascinated and helped me to kind of a better understand. Sometimes it is very important to use AI in a ways that it can make our lives better. And the best example for me is the way we use AI to combat like illicit activities or ill-mannered users who try to use deepfakes and AIs to kind of bypass KYC process, right? And this way, actually, our AI is trained on the data set, which is a right. For example, when you submit your ID and your liveness test, AI understand who is actually a human, and then they can combat other AIs to try to bypass the process. Because as humans, we are very bad in detecting AI, I believe, and especially seeing what's happening in social media. But the power of AI comes that if they are trained on the right data, they don't only produce better results, but they can also combat with other AIs and deepfake agents that try to bypass them. And I think that is the most important fact that we need to focus on today. But again, I think like the data that we train our AI agents today is one of the most important discussions I believe everyone in the industry talks about, especially when it comes to the ethics and also copyright.
And what are actually the main lessons that you take from these different breaches, like the one you mentioned? And what or which risks you think remain underestimated?
In my opinion, one of the biggest risks, like we always kind of discuss in the industry, like, are it does AI become like a human like? What kind of decisions that make? And in my opinion, one thing we kind of the line is blurring. For me, AI is a great copilot. And for me, AI should always have a human supervision. Whether it is the very smallest decision making or whether it's a large decision making that impacts people's life. Because when AI does something right, we do all appreciate this. But when something goes wrong, that is where human interference comes into place. And I will give you an example for our listeners. If you are today in some GPT model and trying to polish syntax or grammar of the email you are sending, or creating a small funny image, to celebrate your best friend's birthday, you can go and reprompt, and any mistake doesn't impact your life. But when we scale it to in a different dimension, where you are on a financial platform and you are making a decision that can cost you tens and thousands of dollars, or maybe you are a doctor diagnosing a patient that can cost the patient's life, I think this is where the line should kind of be drawn, where which kind of a decision can be done by the AI, no matter what kind of data is trained on, and what kind of data needs a supervision, and where the AI is just a copilot. And I think in most of the decisions today we do with AI, we should see AI as a copilot, and we shouldn't rely much on that, no matter what kind of data we fed them, what kind of trained material they are trained on, and no matter what kind of precision they have, because it takes only one wrong decision. And we have seen several cases in an industry where AI or trading bots did a snowball effect, and there was hundreds of liquidations because just one bot did one mistake. Because the I think shortcoming of AI is also lands there that it is very replicable. And once AI does wrong decision, they because they don't have a feeling of what is wrong and right, and then they kind of end up replicating it, and that kind of pollutes also their data or the data that they are trained on. Therefore, for everyone listening today, definitely there are a lot of very, very important and powerful tools out there, but use AI as your co-pilot. Don't use AI as a, sole decision maker, because especially if you're taking the decisions that impact your life.
Okay, great. And within the context of MEXC, do you think AI can improve liquidity management across these fragmented markets without introducing other risks?
Definitely, like even as big, I think the core of our industry is right, Bitcoin. And when we talk about Bitcoin, we even see that Bitcoin's liquidity and landscape is very, very fragmented. AI isn't there only to make the liquidity better or does an analysis on order books to understand what kind of depth an order book has or how many traders are conducting trade to make that very speedy decision making, especially connecting the market with the market makers and the buyers and sellers in one place. But also, it can help with execution of this fragmented liquidity. For example, I think the greatest implication is when we use AI for risk management, whether it is processing the wallets, making sure that how corrupt that particular wallet could be, was that wallet been involved in any illicit activity, is it a stained wallet, where we are pooling this particular asset, and we can run all this information in a split second that in a normal case could have been missed by an let's say AML processes, or there could be some shortcomings. We can use AI to make this kind of a fast decision out of like hundreds and hundreds of transactions, and AI is scalable. For example, let's say it usually isn't done like that, but like for simplicity, if let's say a human can go through 100 transactions every work day to understand if they are violating any rule, AI can do hundreds of thousands that kind of transactions in auto in a split second, and that's what is helping us to kind of increase the quality of the work we do using AI, especially in liquidity, when we look into like order book depths and making sure that everything that kind of comes together really well, rather than giving an AI to make some powerful decision. Like AI doesn't decide where to pull the liquidity from. It looks into whether it is the liquidity we pull or assets that we are bringing to the platform or we are pushing out of the platform are equally good or as per the standard.
Okay, and what about in moments of extreme volatility? Do you agree that AI systems perform well under normal conditions but tend to fail during extreme volatility or rare events? And if so, what fail-safe mechanisms should exist within the AI system to improve the situation?
When it comes to extreme volatility or out of ordinary cases, the AI is performing worse there because AI needs that particular scenarios to learn. And if it was not trained on that particular scenario, it means there will be a very hard time for AI to make decisions. And that's where we come back to my initial thought that AI is a good co-pilot, but AI is a bad pilot. And humans should always be there to kind of make that last call, make that last shot, making sure that whatever decision is made is supervised by a human. And in cases where AI is doing a better deal, humans can become an accelerator, give AI more chances, still supervise it. And when the AI is failing, a human becomes like a proper brake to stop that wrong decision making. Therefore, in my opinion, when it comes to AI and decision making in volatile situations, like humans are very, very important to supervise. You can think of it as AI. I try to also at my job think of an AI as an intern who is still learning, and at least at this stage, I'm not talking like where AI will go in future, but at this stage, it is a very successful intern is trying to learn. And before any big decision, you don't have to, and your job as a professional is to go and supervise that intern, the same way the AI is kind of our intern that we are training at this point, and we have to always supervise that trainee to make sure that in future they can make a better decisions. And as humans, I think our role is to become a monitoring body or a supervising body of an AI. And I think it doesn't only relate or like a trace that we conduct powered by AI, but also we extensively use AI, for example, in our both KYC and AML processes, but we still have a human layer on top of it, because also humans, as humans, we come with an empathy. We know to how to make that empathetic decision making based on the extreme situations. It's not only about the market volatility, but it's about, for example, the users who come with a particular problem. It can be in other cases where human interference doesn't only add up to the effectiveness, but also it adds this emotional intelligence layer that, in my opinion, AI is lagging today.
That is a very interesting question, right? I mean, it's also almost philosophical. Will they ever feel empathy? Will they ever feel it? Will they ever be empathetic?
I don't know, but also when we talk about the empathy, right, as humans, the famous trolley, case in philosophy, I think that is the case. Like, as humans, we prioritize other humans and their feelings because we can relate. And for an AI to have an empathy, is it they empathize with other humans or they will empathize with other machines? And I think that can, open a Pandora's box for us and this discussion. But definitely there's a lot of ethical questions also to apply what AI should kind of prioritize, even at one day they become sentient or they have that capacity to have an emotional intelligence. Still it is a question like what will be AI's priority, especially in an era where AI can have a wallet and make money and make the decision or even cure a patient.
Absolutely. What about the ethical considerations about market fairness? AI-driven trading can create advantages for those platforms that offer AI services, but therefore some users might have other tools that create an unbalanced distribution, of abilities. So how should exchanges should balance the use of AI with the need to actually maintain this fair market access for all participants?
Honestly, from my point of view, in business generally, not just an exchange or financial decision making, in business generally, whoever has access to better tools were able to perform better, right? If you, at your job, if you were provided with a great computer, you can do very complex jobs, especially if you, let's say, designing something. If you have a IMAX camera, probably the visual you produce is much better as a cinematographer. Same applies to technology. And for many years, I believe the trading giants were putting their servers at the same building with an exchanges like New York Stock Exchange or Nasdaq to make that decision 1 millisecond faster in order to be able to beat everyone else in the market. Today, definitely we are in a race where big companies, giants, trading giants are investing millions and million dollars to produce that better trading tools, whether it is smart decision making through AI, whether it is supercomputers with a huge computing power. And definitely we are seeing that whoever has an access to a better technology has an advantage. As an exchange, especially MEXC is one of the only few largest exchanges that our main power lies on the retail trade. We are proud that more than 99% of our traders are humans and we serve more than 40 million users. And our goal is to bring this institutional grade trading AI support to our users. Today, we have more than 7 different AI related products that is available to our users to make a better decision making in their trade and use AI as a copilot. But let's also not forget one key factor. As a users today, we do enjoy AI, but we have to understand most of the AI's computing power and energy is used is heavily subsidized. And when you factor that energy and computing power cost into the overall trade and benefits, unless it is super scalable, we see that there are so many cases that AI is not even profitable in that kind of an environment. Therefore, using AI to make a better decision, to make better market analysis, to collect a lot of information from market is definitely important and a key, but it's also a huge debate in which a moment AI becomes so expensive that the trade or decisions that they make is less profitable. And I think that is another question that like industry is still trying to have an answer. But undoubtedly today, whoever has an access to a better AI tools, better decision making through the machines and technology, and there are also a lot of quant firms that use high speed machinery to make that decision making, still definitely have an advantage over the a user who is doing everything manual. And I think that is one of the way of thinking, the way we were talking that AI will come and take white collar jobs, AI will take the blue collar jobs. And I think we need to also understand at which point AI is taking away jobs, or at least making jobs better for those who use AI for trading, decision making, and analysis.
Yeah, well, we'll see those changes, I think, in the coming years, right? I mean, we're already seeing them. And I guess the question will be, how will that affect us, right? Are we going to develop new jobs, or are we just going to be displaced and then the economic system will change?
One thing is definite, especially in a market that you can't have all AIs trading with other AIs, because AIs are replicating. And if all AIs try to maximize for profit, probably it will not be possible, because most of the cases in like a fair market, you need someone to lose for someone to win economically. And because you can't just print free money in the market unless you are a central bank of US or another large government. But what is evident that, as I mentioned, like a human emotional intelligence, AI sometimes doesn't understand the way we think. And for example, today, if you go to the defense companies and defense contractors, you see that their stocks are increasing. You see that oil is increasing, and then also the way AI does money making is without any kind of a second layer of thinking. Or if we look into the sports and fan tokens, right? All this decision making sometimes is not about where the market goes, it's about your patriotic feelings, about the team you support if you are doing some fun token trading. And most of the cases, like the same way as humans, we, especially like the World Cup is coming, right? We all gonna support our national teams, and we don't drop our team because other team is winning. For AI, they definitely don't have that feeling, right? They will just go for the team that is winning, which is definitely AI is designed to. But as humans, we also love having that emotional connection to the things. And I think that is one thing that makes us great, makes us different than AI. And I think that is, in my opinion, like the us being humans and still trying to maximize benefit for other humans, what will make these ethical questions answered. And I hope we all remain human in terms of to making that decision in future, to make sure that AI is there to serve humanity in a better way, rather than taking other humans job, rather than making other humans life miserable.
Well, yes, I think that being optimistic is definitely a key factor right now, in general. But let's go just to regulation. A bit of, I was wondering how does MEXC manage regulation across so many jurisdictions, or how do exchanges should ensure this consistent compliance while scaling globally?
The same way we discuss like a liquidity being fragmented and every other aspect of our daily life is fragmented, it is similar the same way you will go to a store, let's say in European Union, and buy something. Even though it's a single market, you will see so many different like the descriptions on the boxes of the goods you buy, because each market has different regulation, right? And each market needs a different explanation also to the user. And I think AI, what makes it strong, that it can replicate and understand uh, requirement for each market and serve the user the platform and product that it needs. It can just replicate these different parallel realities. For example, if you are a user in particular market where the legal limit of leverage is certain percent, then AI can limit that percent for you, while other user in different end of the world can access the platform and still enjoy a different leverage limits. Or in particular markets, if particular product is banned or limited access, the user can be served with the right tool without a need or without the human interference. And I think AI in future will help every industry participant like ourselves who tries to be compliance ready, who tries to serve or to have a better relationship with the regulators, to kind of understand different requirements and to serve every user compliantly in each market. And for the scale, I will tell you that our 40 million users come from 170 plus markets. It means every market has its own particular law that we need to comply. And it is not only about the state level or federal level law. It is also sometimes it is about different federation. The participants in federations have a different laws. For example, in United Arab Emirates, you have 7 emirates with 7 different laws. In US, you have 50 states, which is each has their own separate laws that every entity should comply not only with the state but also federal laws, and that makes it a very, very complicated game. And especially for the small companies, startups, new beginners, I think AI will become a great way to serve the users and clients compliantly without breaking a bank or without hiring a lawyer from each jurisdiction. And I think that is one of the biggest aspects that I'm very positive. And for everyone listening, yes, maybe AI is coming for the lawyer jobs, but it is very, very expensive, to hire a lawyer. And I always say, like, when we talk about regulation, we need to think about innovation. We need to think about these startups who would rather hire, 2 developers instead of 2 lawyers. And sometimes legal frameworks are very complicated and very harsh that might kill innovation. And I hope with the help of AI, we can, not fight but comply with overregulation. And I think today we are going towards in our industry towards like overregulation. There's a lot of laws, a lot of states are introducing new legislation. Sometimes it's very, very hard to follow, and AI maybe can make our lives better in that front.
Great. What about in 5 years? Let's think about the future. What role do you think AI will play in crypto? And what will be different from now?
I think, honestly, it's very hard to predict, especially because crypto is very fragmented and very cyclic market, right? Every 2-3 years, we are in a different crypto world, even though like the technology is staying there, the main keywords are there, Bitcoin, I don't know, crypto. But today, the crypto today is much different than 2 years ago. Same applies for AI. 2 years ago, AI that was merely, polishing our grammar and syntax in our emails. Today, we saw that someone was able to create a cancer drug for their dog using AI and $3,000. It is a very different world. And I believe in 5 years, we will have a world supported by AI where humans have a better life. And when I say better life, I do think and hope, I'm very, very optimistic in that front, that this better life will be about humans having access to better services, better healthcare, better decision making, better education through AI. And I don't want a world where AI becomes the next kind of competitor to the humans. It shouldn't be that, oh, now AI does a better films, or AI does a better food, or AI does better clothes design, but it should be AI is doing better food for human, AI is doing better clothes for human, and AI gives the better education or medical advice for human to make human life better. And I think if we are able to kind of combine all these things together in every aspect of technology we develop, we think what part of human life this technology is making better, we will end up in a better world in the next 5 years. But on the other side, if we think how to just maximize profit, how to cut costs, and I don't think that this is the better place I hope the world gonna go.
Well, we'll stay with that. Thank you so much, Usi. Is there anything else you would like to say or that we didn't cover?
Thank you very much for having me, and for everyone listening to 40 million MEXC users. Please use AI, but still do your own research. Make sure that you are the one making the last decision, especially if it's a financial decision making that will impact your life and life of your loved ones.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. That was Vugar Usi, COO at MEXC. Thanks for watching and see you next time.